Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take a mountain of financial source material and distill it into the knowledge you really need to get ahead.
Today we are cracking open one of the most, I'd say, provocative and transformative views on wealth creation.
Yeah, a view shaped by two drastically different mentors.
It's a study in contrasts, really.
Yeah.
We're synthesizing wisdom from what the source material calls the poor dad, highly educated, a government PhD who valued security above all else.
And on the other hand, the rich dad, an eighth-grade dropout who built a business empire, and, he just understood the invisible mechanics of money.
Exactly. And our mission here is to analyze these core lessons so you can flip the script and make money work for you.
Instead of spending a lifetime working for money.
Mm-hmm.
And the urgency here is, well, it's palpable. These are lessons that were originally seen as too radical to publish.
And yet they've proven to be uncannily prophetic.
Just think about the economic history of the last 20 years, the dot-com bust, the huge 2007 real estate crash,
the banking collapse in 2008. The source material argues that those events were, predictable. They were the result of widespread financial illiteracy.
I think when people look back now, they realize these lessons weren't just advice, they were a warning.
Absolutely. And the data just confirms this growing chasm. Studies showed that, 95% of all income gains between 2009 and 2012 went straight to the top 1%.
Wow.
It's because the financially literate are operating under a completely different rule book.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Let's start with the foundational rule, the bedrock of it all. Rich Dad's rule number 1.
You must know the difference between an asset and a liability. And then you must buy assets.
Simple enough. But this is where the popular definition, trips people up.
Right. Because most people define assets based on what something is: a house, a car, stocks.
The physical thing itself.
Exactly. Rich Dad defines them based on what they do.
The cash flow tells the story. That's the key.
Mm-hmm.
And the definition is so simple. An asset puts money in your pocket whether you work or not.
And a liability
takes money out of your pocket. That's the entire game.
So if you track the cash flow of someone who's struggling financially, you see it, right? Their salary comes in.
And then it immediately flows right back out.
To pay for mortgages, car loans, credit cards. They're just acquiring liabilities they've mistakenly labeled as assets.
But wait, this brings up the most controversial point in the material. The one that got it rejected by publishers at first.
I know where you're going with this.
The claim that your house is a liability, not an asset? Come on. If I buy a house for $300,000 and sell it for $500,000 10 years later, haven't I generated a return? That sounds like an asset.
And that is the critical common sense counter-argument.
It's a great point. But for Rich Dad, the definition is strictly based on monthly cash flow.
So it's not about the potential for appreciation down the road.
Not for this definition, no.
Yeah.
Until you actually sell it, that house is just continuously pulling money out of your pocket.
Through property taxes, insurance, maintenance, and the mortgage payments, of course. If the money is flowing out, it's functioning as a liability. It's just that simple.
So the insight isn't that owning a home is bad, but that most people buy liabilities that just trap them. They want a bigger house, which means a bigger liability, which means they have to work harder.
Precisely. Rich Dad's strategy is, if you want that bigger house, don't just upgrade your job and get a bigger mortgage.
So what do?
First, you buy income-generating assets. Things like rental properties, dividend stocks, business notes.
Things that generate enough cash flow to cover the expenses of the house you want?
Yes. You use assets to pay for liabilities. That's the only path to sustainable wealth.
Okay, that sets us up perfectly for lesson number 1, revisited. The poor and middle class work for money, and that system keeps them trapped.
In the rat race.
Right.
And the rat race is brutal because it's not just economic, it's psychological. It's a cycle driven by fear and desire.
Get up, go to work, get paid, pay bills.
And repeat.
And the fear is what starts it all. The constant worry of not paying bills, of being fired. People hope money will soothe that fear.
But it never does.
No. Then the paycheck lands and desire kicks in.
Yeah.
You want that. Short-lived joy.
But the joy is ephemeral, so you have to go back to work again for the next fix. It's a vicious feedback loop.
So your emotions, fear, and desire are controlling your brain instead of logic.
This is exactly why people who get windfalls, like from the lottery or an inheritance, often end up right back where they started. Or worse.
Because the money just amplifies the bad cash flow pattern they already had.
Exactly. And while you're running harder on that treadmill, who's really benefiting?
Not the runner.
Nope. As an employee, you are primarily working for the company owner, the bank, through your liabilities, and of course, the government.
The tax trap. And it's massive.
It's the #1 expense for the middle class,
Mhm.
often higher than housing or food. And here's where the trap gets insidious. For many employees, the combined Social Security and Medicare tax is huge. It's roughly 15%. And that's the combined rate paid by you and your employer.
But wait, I pay income tax on that money that gets deducted.
Right.
Right. The income I never even see because it went straight to Social Security.
Correct. The government taxes your gross income, not your net.
So working harder, getting raises,
Yeah.
it just means the government takes a bigger and bigger share.
You're shooting yourself in the foot every morning because the structure is designed for you to pay first before you ever see a dime.
That's a huge disadvantage.
Yeah.
So if the employee structure is built for paying taxes first, what game do the wealthy play to avoid it?
This brings us to the biggest secret of the rich, the legal structure of corporations.
Okay.
Yeah. If you look at history, income taxes were popularized by saying they were going to punish the rich.
But that's not what happened.
No. The wealthy are smart. They don't protest taxes. They hired the best lawyers and accountants to influence tax law. So the burden always trickles down to the middle class who, well, they lack the financial education.
So let's be really explicit about the cash flow difference here. For an employee, the flow is you earn,
Then you pay taxes.
and then you spend what's left.
Right. But for a business owner with a corporation, the structure is fundamentally inverted.
How so?
Their cash flow is they earn, then they spend everything legally possible.
And then they pay taxes on whatever's left.
Exactly.
That sounds like a massive loophole. I know our listeners might be skeptical, so walk me through it. What kind of expenses can a corporation legally pay for with pre-tax dollars?
Any legitimate business expense. For example, you pay your car payment after you've paid income tax on that money.
Right.
A corporation can often legally expense a vehicle, insurance, phones, even health club memberships if they're structured as business necessities.
What about the classic board meeting in Hawaii?
That's the anecdote, yeah. If you structure a necessary business trip that way, the corporation can pay for the travel and lodging with pre-tax dollars. It's about knowing the rules and using them legally to your advantage.
And it's not just taxes. Corporations offer a huge layer of legal protection,
A crucial layer. The middle class tries to own everything themselves.
which makes them vulnerable.
Very. The financially smart often structure things so they control everything but legally own nothing outright. Assets are held in corporations or trusts.
So if the business gets sued,
Your personal assets, your home, your investment accounts, are often shielded from creditors. It's a massive advantage an employee just doesn't have.
this really highlights that being rich isn't about the size of your paycheck. It's about your financial IQ.
It's about your ability to structure, protect, and multiply money. Intelligence solves problems. Intelligence produces money.
And money without that intelligence, it's fleeting.
There are historical examples like that group of the richest businessmen who met in Chicago in 1923.
What happened to them?
25 years later, 9 of those financial titans had died broke, committed suicide, or gone to prison. Having money doesn't mean you'll keep it.
So the source material argues it's not just technical knowledge, it's courage. It says, and I'm quoting here, it's not so much the lack of technical information that holds us back, but more the lack of self-confidence.
That's the emotional barrier right there. Financial genius requires both literacy and boldness. Most people are terrified of losing money.
So they play it safe.
They play it safe, accept tiny returns, stick with a secure job rather than risk capital. But Rich Dad taught that every single winner has lost money. Failure is just part of the process.
So it flips the script on failure. Failure inspires winners. Failure defeats losers.
You have to look at your financial defeats not as embarrassments, but as rallying cries.
Like, remember the Alamo.
Exactly. That was a catastrophic military defeat, but they turned it into the central, galvanizing energy to win the entire war.
And that mindset lets the financially astute literally invent money. They don't wait for opportunities, they create them.
Especially when everyone else is paralyzed by fear or cynicism.
Okay, let's look at that Phoenix real estate example to see this in action. Because it's brilliant. The market was depressed.
Right. The investor found a house worth $75,000, but it was available for just $20,000 because of bankruptcy filings.
But the investor didn't have the 20 grand.
No. So they borrowed $2,000 from a friend for 90 days, used that for the down payment and fees. Now here's the clever part. Instead of trying to sell the house outright,
They advertised it for $60,000 with owner financing. A note, no money down.
Yes. So they bought a house for $20,000 and sold the right to pay for it over time, the note for $60,000. That note itself became an asset.
Generating 10% interest income. They literally created $40,000 in assets out of thin air.
And then they paid back the friends $2,000. Total time spent, maybe 5 hours. The return on investment, the ROI, it's essentially infinite because they got their capital back.
That just blows the traditional advice of saving $100 a month in a tax savings account completely out of the water.
It's a different game entirely.
And that circles right back to the beginning. The reason that works is because the rich prioritize buying assets that generate income.
While the poor only have expenses.
And the middle class.
Yeah.
They buy liabilities they think are assets.
The whole discussion just boils down to financial discipline and choice. You have to prioritize paying yourself first.
Which means putting money into the asset column, stocks, notes, rentals, before you pay your bills.
Right. And people will say, but what if I can't pay my bills?
And the rich dad philosophy says, don't dip into your asset column to cover it.
No. Use that financial pressure as inspiration. It forces your financial genius to activate and find new, creative ways to earn money rather than just going back to your job for overtime.
And that connects to the ultimate takeaway about self-education, doesn't it?
It does. Poor Dad advised specialization. Become an expert in one thing, which makes you dependent on a single employer.
And rich dad.
Encouraged learning a little about a lot. Gaining diverse skills across fields like sales, accounting, investing, management.
Because if your specialty fails, or technology changes your industry,
your skills could become obsolete overnight, but someone who knows a little about finance, a little about law, and a little about sales is inherently more adaptable, more resilient.
And I think this gives us our final thought for you, the listener, to mull over.
Mm.
When you look at all those diverse skills you need, the accounting, the investing, sales management, which one do you fear learning or tackling the most right now?
That skill you fear conquering, that's likely the one you need most to unlock the next level of financial freedom. The opportunity often lies directly behind the fear you are trying hardest to avoid.